I would like to welcome Marlena Tracy, our Chief Development and External Affairs Officer at Covenant House Greater Washington. She has a very vital role in establishing partnerships and just pushing forward our mission at Covenant House. And without further ado, Marlena Tracy.
Well, good evening, everyone, and thank you, Kiera, for that wonderful, wonderful introduction. We are so thrilled you're with us this evening for our Youth Homeless Awareness Month Town Hall meeting. Tonight, we're going to have a very important discussion on breaking down the stereotypes about youth homelessness and how we can use our voices to dispel those myths. So I want to set the tone this evening with a quote that I received from Covenant House International, actually from one of their volunteers, which says, all you have to do is take the time to get to know the young people at Covenant House, to see how good they are, how resilient and brave and funny and talented they are. These are great young people, and their futures are filled with potential. So tonight you're going to hear from two remarkable young people with lived experiences. And if you're moved to do something, then join our effort at Covenant House Greater Washington to end homelessness. We're going to move on with the agenda. We're going to start with an overview by our wonderful CEO, Angela Jones-Hackley. Immediately following Angela will be the opening statement and town hall discussion facilitated by the esteemed LaToya Foster. We're so happy to have LaToya. She's a seasoned communication veteran. She has 2 decades of experience in television and radio and currently serves as the director of the DC Office of Cable Television, Film, Music, Entertainment, just a fabulous person. After LaToya and the comments, Kelly Michael Williams, our board member, will close the panel discussion and open the floor for questions from the guests. Then Kiera will present the Sleep Out commercial, the assets, we'll have Q&A, and then we'll have a closing. So with that, our esteemed CEO, Angela, it's you.
Take myself off of mute. Good evening, everyone. Thank you, Marlena, for the kind remarks. I'm really pleased to welcome you all here this evening to our town hall that is focused in Youth Homelessness Awareness Month. Covenant House Greater Washington is one of the largest providers of services to youth experiencing homelessness in the DC area. We have 5 facilities in Washington, DC, and 1 facility in Prince George's County, Maryland. And I want to be focused on the term that we use, youth experiencing homelessness. And we use that deliberately because we recognize that homelessness is simply an experience that our young people are having at that particular point in time. It is not what characterizes them. We often say that the least interesting thing about our young people is that they're homeless. Marlena is right in that we have young people who come to our doors, through our doors, with passion and potential. It is our job and our mission to be relentless in our work to provide safety, sanctuary, and support. So the 3 S's: relentless, safety, sanctuary, and support. And that means that we don't stop. We continue to do whatever it is that we can do to make sure that when our young people leave us, that they leave us better than when they came, and that they're able to really provide for themselves and thrive, not just survive, but to thrive, what we all aspire to do as we go through this thing called life. I am going to turn it over to LaToya. So I know she's got a few words, and thank you, LaToya, again for your relentless support of the work that we do here at Covenant House Greater Washington, and your support of the work that the city is doing to make homelessness brief, rare, and non-recurring. And then LaToya is going to introduce our panelists, and we're going to have a really engaging conversation around the myths that I think a lot of us have about when we think about how is it that our young people find themselves through our doors. So I'm going to turn it over to LaToya. Thank you again for joining us this evening.
Angela, thank you so very much. And Marlena, my longtime friend, I cannot thank you both enough. Talking about women leaders who are not only leading and making sure that our youth are taken care of, but making sure that our youth are not just surviving, but they are thriving. We cannot thank you all enough for everything that you're doing, not just today, but for how long. You know, your work is ongoing, is tireless, and we're grateful to have you both at the helm. So we cannot thank you enough. I also want to take this moment to, of course, thank another supportive leader, the leader of our city, our mayor, Muriel Bowser, our three-term, let me go back a little bit because this is important at this time and space. That's why I'm saying what I'm saying right now. At this moment in time, the only woman mayor to ever secure 3 4-year terms, Black or white. Okay, so let's give her a round of applause for all of her hard work and leading the capital of the world for the past decade. She just celebrated 1 decade elected as mayor of our great city. And, you know, I can remember back when she first was elected, she might have even been mayor-elect at the time. And, you know, homelessness was at a priority on her agenda. And she talked about even then how she was going to close DC General. Okay. Now I'm a native Washingtonian, so I can remember when DC General was an actual hospital. I can remember going to DC General for an ear infection, but we know DC General had to house families and our youth for a really long time. And she said, you know, this place is too old, too dilapidated, and I'm going to close it. And I'm going to set up short-term family housing across all 8 wards of the city. And she said that at the beginning of her first term. And you know, one thing about her, she never, ever makes a promise that she doesn't intend to keep. And she's been doing that over the past decade. In her first term, I'm going to go back a little bit because I think it's important. Because oftentimes, you know, because we're getting so much information for so long, we tend to forget certain things that have taken place. She did launch a comprehensive plan to end youth homelessness in her first term with Solid Foundations DC. She's made investments in her 2025 budget, which included the $18.9 million for the Career Mobility Action Plan, as well as $500,000 for the Peer Case Management Institute, and $148 million for renovations and rebuilding the district shelter capacity, including the federal city shelter. So I say all that to say that with women at the helm, things get done. Okay, so with that, I'm going to kick off this evening's town hall, which again, I'm so excited to be here with you to moderate and to dispel some myths and to make sure that we are distributing the facts about it. We have an extraordinary panel, and I got choked up even looking at their bios, starting with Tara. Tara and her journey, Tara Stevens. In November of 2009, Tara found herself at a critical juncture in her life. At just 19 years old, she was escaping a volatile and dysfunctional home, desperate for a safe space, but unwilling to settle for a traditional shelter. Tara's determination led her to Covenant House, Greater Washington, a decision that would change her life forever. And at Covenant House, Tara found more than just a bed. She found a community of people who cared. And having a safe, stable place to sleep allowed her to focus on her goals. She continued working, attending school, and caring for her 5-month-old son, determined to make the most of the opportunity. Covenant House provided the support and security Tara needed, empowering her to rebuild her life and regain her sense of self-worth. And then Tara didn't just end her journey with Covenant House in 2011. Today, she is a mental health case manager, and she is dedicating her career to helping others in the community. She founded Chase Change, I love that, an organization that provides programming to help young adults acknowledge their mental health from an evolved and holistic perspective. And Chase Change creates space where youth can learn about their mental well-being, embrace healing, and build meaningful support networks. And her mission is to continue to help young people connect with themselves and others in ways that fosters long-term growth. We're so excited to have Tara with us today. We also have Trevon Randolph, who went from homelessness to hope. Now, Trevon's story is one of resilience, transformation, and the power of community. At 23 years old, Trevon found himself in a place he never imagined, homeless. Homeless with a young daughter and no clear path forward. Life had truly dealt him tough cards, but his encounter with Covenant House Greater Washington became the turning point in his journey. And today, as a 25-year-old father of three and a budding entrepreneur, Trevon reflects on how far he's come and continues to use Covenant House as a vital resource in his life. We thank Trevon for being here today. We are also joined by Kevin Walker, the Director of Workforce Development at Covenant House. So we just want to thank everyone for being here today, for being a part of this panel. And I think we just get right into the questions, and let's dispel these myths and make sure that everyone has all of the accurate information about youth homelessness in our city. Let's start with number one, the stereotypes and misconceptions about youth homelessness. Have you personally encountered those, and how have they affected you? Tara, I'll start with you today.
Hello, everyone.
Hello, Tara.
Hi. So yes, I have encountered the belief that youth homelessness is solely due to poor choices or lack of work ethic. People often think that youth experiences of homelessness are irresponsible or unwilling to help themselves. This misconception is hurtful because it dismisses the complex factors that led to homelessness, like family issues, such as my case, the volatile environment that led me to finding the Covenant House, abuse or systematic inequalities. It adds to the isolation, making it harder to feel understood or accepted.
Okay. How about you, Trevon?
Forgive me for the delay. I'm trying to work. I'm new to the iPhone, so I'm trying to get used to it.
That's all right. We understand. We've all had those tech issues. All good.
But I would say the misconception of far as homelessness is that it's really frowned upon. Homelessness is like from my community, how I was raised, like my environment. Homelessness is like you're worth less. You know, you don't add any value. You don't have any type of direction. So it's like ignorant in a way. So it's but at the same time, there's different types of form of homelessness. You know, homelessness doesn't always have to be a form of shelter. It could be like a escape, like Covenant House was, to provide, access to a room or just different, resources. So homelessness can be any type of shape or form. It just all depends on where you are in your life. So, but the misconceptions is, is being outside, not having no way to stay, or, not being able to take care of yourself. Some people are homeless that have a car, that have a job, that, that have friends and family. They just choose to, take the long route and then, just wait for their timing,
So, and that goes back to something I think we've all encountered, is that we don't always look like our story, right? We may all be going through any number of challenges, but we may not wear it, and we may not look like what we've been through or what we're going through. And have you found that to be the case with the young adult community, with your peers, or is that more so those generations that might be a little older than you? Who is it that's being on the judgmental end in you all's view?
My view, it's on me. So me, I'm an example. Basically during that time, it's really based on, like I said, environment and just knowing those who are around you, because you can have family members that have support things and that, and everybody has a different view, but it really depends on, where you are in life. and just where you trying to go, and knowing, because it applied to me, because coming up, I didn't really have the guidance. I didn't really have someone to spoon, hold my hand. But at a young age, I always knew what I wanted to be. And I knew that me knowing what I wanted to be, and certain decisions and choices that I had to make that wouldn't align with society. It goes beyond what you see. And in my case, I think a lot of youth are experiencing the same thing. It's not that they don't have talent, that they don't have the knowledge or the wisdom. It's just that being in that right environment, it puts you in a mode, in a position, in place that you can focus, you can thrive, you can get things done. Because we all know the world has its distractions.
That's right. That's right.
It's just that if you just can find and can sift out and filter, some people are not able to filter, what they're going through. So that's why it's important that you have the covenant houses and other communities that see the vision. You just have to already know what you want, but have to believe, at the end of the day, because this is your life, so.
Right.
And it all comes from your background and how you were raised. I think that plays another important factor, because my experience of homeless might not be your experience.
That's right. That's right.
The way you take it might not be the way I take it. So
that's right.
But the most important thing is having the anchors, having the people in position that can feel the fire.
And Kevin, for you, getting people to open up, getting our young people to open up about their experience and their needs. Talk about that.
Like I say, primarily, it all depends on your situation. Some people, homelessness can come from, a broken family. It could come from an abandoned mom. A lot of my youth people that I see that's my age or younger, they don't have dads. They don't have moms. They don't have sisters. So for them to open up, it would take a lot of self and soul searching, because this is within, and a lot of things that are within don't reflect on the out. But your life is like a filter.
That's right.
So you have to. So whatever you're going through, you're gonna attract that. So open up is like really the toughest thing, but it's possible when you can create that safe space, when you can provide guidance, because a lot of the youth, they don't know what they want, and some do, and that's okay if you don't know what you want. It's okay. A lot of the youth feel like they don't have time, or it's too late, because they fail and they fail and they fail. But the diamonds are in the rough.
That's absolutely correct. That's absolutely correct.
The biggest treasures are beneath, some of the toughest foundations. So it's just knowing and just navigating and just instilling it in the youth that it's possible. That's why it's important to keep going even when you don't see plants. When we sow seeds, the plants don't go into a forest automatically. It takes time, day by day. You have to
absolutely,
and that's what the youth, I feel like now that they struggle with, is that the patience, the instant gratification in social media. But when you,
you know what, we had a wonderful another MB who was the mayor of Washington, D.C. And that's the late, great Mayor for Life, Marion Barry. And he would often say, we're in the instant everything, instant coffee, instant food, instant everything. And now it's Instagram, so we are in that instantaneous lifestyle. And Tara, I want you to jump in for us as well. Talk about your experience and being able to open up about your experiences. And then I want to turn to Kevin to find out about getting those to open up about their experiences so that you can jump in and assist them where they need help.
So I feel like judgment comes from all sides, and it definitely is based off of your environment and your circumstances. Because from the outside, my family might have looked functional. So, my impression of what homeless looked like would be what I would see downtown, and that's just furthest from the truth. Coming from different communities, you might have a different perspective on what homelessness looks like when it really doesn't have face necessarily. And I actually learned that from my first roommate at the Covenant House when I thought my life was over because I was homeless. And
Right.
she came out like an angel. Her name was Leah. And I didn't even know she was in the bathroom, but she was literally like cleaning the same hair. And she was explaining to me, I can't afford to buy new tracks. I clean them, I'll hang them up. And she got dressed every day. She would put heels on. She would, because I just said I was going to give up and I wasn't going to care how I looked. That's what she heard me crying about. I was like, I don't care how I look. I'm homeless. And she came out. She's like, no, you're not going to look like your situation. You're going to look as good as you do today.
Come on, Leah.
Exactly. And that changed my perspective because I was already in a defeatist mode where I was going to look homeless when I can be homeless and still look my best.
That's right. You don't have to look like your story.
Correct.
You don't have to look like your story.
I didn't have to look like my story. And that was the turning point for me there. And then just my experience, I came to, because of the type of family that I came from, I came to the Covenant House with certain skills, and they were able to adapt my plan for where I was. So
nice.
Meeting me where I am in intake, and I never had been through an intake before. But
and how did you even learn about Covenant House, by the way?
I Googled it.
You were being proactive on your journey. Yeah. You know that this is a stop along my journey, but this ain't the last stop on your journey.
Yeah, I Googled teen shelter for kids or teen.
And how old were you at the time?
I was 19. Okay. I had just turned 19. It was the exact date I went to the Covenant House was November the 24th of 2009. So, okay. And I was able to transition into their what was it, ROP back then. It was during 2010, the winter storm is when I was able to move in one of their properties, and I had a roommate there. But I was still spicy. So I mean, the Covenant House, and still be with a lot of things, but there were still some things that I needed to work out for myself as a young woman and growing into womanhood. And just to piggyback off of Trayvon's, like you cannot have parents, or in my case, I could have parents, but I'm not really getting the guidance necessary in order to propel my growth in the right direction for my success. So running into the people at Covenant House, whether it been my peers who were more mature based off of what they had been through in life, or working with staff where I can come in at night and talk to them about what happened, or they can let me know that I'm coming in late from school. I might not want to be coming down the street with a purse on my arm. I might want to change up where I'm starting to learn some street skills a little bit to help me be successful and give that to the next person. Where somebody else new coming to the Covenant House, I'm like, look, girl, now you getting off this bus to come here, you might not want to carry your bag. So I mean, it was a time, and it was actually a time I called it locking in. So when I came to the Covenant House, I didn't speak to any of my family or my friends.
Well, you had to insulate yourself from everything so that you could focus on what was most important. Your journey, your next, all of that.
It was the funnest. I called it summer camp in the wintertime.
I love it.
I enjoy everything. I didn't really use the service center as much because I already had like the skill to like get a job and go to school. But as far as the time I spent with my peers in the TV room when different people donated their time and they came to speak to us, it actually, I feel like, planted the seed in me to give back in that very same way, because
absolutely
it was impactful for me.
And oftentimes our experiences, though they may feel like they're not favorable for us, they are building a foundation for us to, along our journeys, for whatever next is. And to, what is Patti LaBelle song? When you've been blessed, you pass it on. So now you know how to pass it on to the next person. Kevin, you have been blessed to be in a position where you are over the director of workforce development. Talk about that. Talk about how you are interfacing with our youth who are dealing with homelessness. And what are those conversations like? And what is a day in your life like anyway?
Well, you know what? The day in my life is very hectic. I'm still out right now, and really,
Where you at, Kevin?
I am actually out getting ready for a convention to speak with members at a community college about workforce development program
Love it.
for hospitality, PG College. So, you know, we are the whole process of what we do is a culmination of really our passion. When you ask, well, how do you get people to open up? How do you get the youth to open up? I spent many years in education, and a lot of people that know me know that I always talk about the passion, because where your passion is where you'll work hard, is where you'll do it even if no one asks you to. So a lot of times when I first encounter youth, the first thing I'm always going to ask them is like, hey, are you okay? Is everything all right? And what's your passion? If we're talking about workforce development and we're trying to get you into a career, first think about your passion. No matter how crazy that might sound to anyone, because by talking about that, we can find where the link is to where you can fit in the work scheme of things, or into the career of what you're trying to get involved in. So, when we see people, and I've listened to Tira talk about the video TV room and things like that. Those engagements that they have with that type of time frame, we like to do that with gaming. We allow some of the kids to, stress, relieve a little stress, talk about things that are going on in their life, get on a video game, and maybe even utilize something that will get their mind off of everything else that's going on around them, and really just think about, okay, well, really, what is my passion? And then that's how you really start to see people open up. It sounds unorthodox, but now you see people utilizing gaming and that world as a means of income. And it sounds crazy to people, but we've sat in situations where we've seen young people that we've worked with go on work with gaming in high school, and then go on and work doing something in the science field and in a whole different field. So that's how we look at it. The passion, where your passion is, that's where you'll open up. That's where you'll make the move. And that's how we work. We work in passion, so 7 o'clock at night when we're here, it's nothing, because, this is what we have to do for the community to kind of get to the next level for the people and the young people that connect with us. They're out on the street at this time of night. So we have to be out here trying to figure out how to maneuver and get them to the places they need to and out of the danger spots.
Absolutely. And, I love that you talked about gaming, because, at one point in time, gaming was looked at as something very negative, but gaming is a multi-billion-dollar industry at this point. Gaming is a big deal. Look, since you're dealing with Prince George's County, there's a huge fest that comes to Prince George's County every year. And I mean, you can't miss it, because you see people coming in their costumes in a certain kind of way. That is building all types of income and businesses and opportunities. So while it's an outlet for one purpose, it's also a career. We have college courses that are dealing with gaming at this point. So you're not only giving them an outlet, you're giving them an opportunity to think about non-traditional jobs and opportunities. That's so important as well, being exposed to a new world and a different world from where they come from. And I'm going to get to Jeremy Babb, who I neglected to introduce in the beginning. And my apologies, Jeremy, but I do want you to hop in on this conversation about our youth and homelessness, the misconceptions, and your day-to-day operations as it relates to youth homelessness.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me. Man, our day-to-day, it's crazy. We have people dropping in, we have our cohort members, we have, just people on the street. But really, like Kevin said, it's really passion oriented, because at the end of the day, we want to tap into, what do you want? We know at the end of the day, your job, everything you do in life is your livelihood, right? So how can we make you successful? How can at the end of the day, it's about happiness. What drives you? What makes you happy? How can we get you to a spot where you're happy and you're not feeling like there's all this anxiety? We do meditation. We do a lot of different type of things to help them, equip them with tools that they can use when they're out in the streets and so forth and so on. But the phones are ringing and emails are going off, but wouldn't have it any other way.
Absolutely, absolutely. Tara, I want to come back to you on this one, and then I'm going to go to Trevon. Uh, the label homeless, how does that impact the way the society views our young people who are experiencing homelessness? And do you think there are some different words or verbiage that we could use to address our youth who are experiencing this challenging time?
Yeah, so I feel like the label homelessness or homeless often creates a sense of like judgment.
Mm-hmm.
If it's like an inherent character flaw, right? So it's
Mm-hmm.
super taboo, you don't want to be it. Then society then tends to view a homeless youth as lost or troubled just by that word, right? It's like, oh,
Mm-hmm.
their family's not accepting them, or you're making assumptions about the type of family that they come from when it could be
Mm-hmm.
the opposite. So I would prefer to use words like housing insecure or housing
Okay.
insecurities or possibly seeking stability versus homeless, seeking stability. Because when you come homeless, you're seeking so many things outside of housing. I mean, it's housing,
Right.
of course, so you want housing because you know that'll help your mental health and help everything else. But if you're homeless and you're seeking housing, you're also seeking security in your finances. So
Mm-hmm.
what will you
Mm-hmm.
have to do for that? You will have to find some type of career or some type of job. So stability overall, mental health.
That's
Um,
right.
Homelessness creates detriments mentally. So now you're seeking stability within yourself, within your emotions. So seeking stability means it covers it versus you saying you're homeless. You don't have to lead with that, even though that is a part of what you're seeking stability for.
Love that. Trevon, what are your thoughts? What's a new word that we can use instead of homeless?
You know what we can use? I like to use this two terms because it's at the end of the day, homelessness. Um, it's it comes in so many different sectors. You know, you can't really label it. You know,
Mm-hmm.
it's not like an identity. You know, so I like to say things like because it's personal. I like to say things like soul searching. It may be soul searching. Uh,
Okay.
or organically growing. You know, anything to twist the narrative and give more of a positive outlook. You know, because it's just it's a search. You know,
Mm-hmm.
it's not just a housing thing. You know, it's not just a shelter thing. It's bigger than that. So
That's right.
it's way bigger than that. So that's why I look at it as just temporary. Temporary. It's temporary. You know,
That's right.
I look at it. I look at it as temporary.
It's temporary. You are, I like the seeking stability that Tara just referenced. I think that's a
Me,
very good term.
me
And it's a transitional moment,
yeah.
and you're going into the next chapter. The next chapter. Kevin, have you heard any other words or terms that are used instead of homeless, or any that you could think are more empowering for our youth?
Well, I think more like the action of like the just the scenery around someone. I would think I haven't heard any new words. You know, I hear people say stuff all the time and new words but not really for homelessness because mostly no, the youth don't really want to talk about it. They want to talk about something else because you're
Of
trying to
course.
really change your atmosphere and change your set. So I would say if somebody a new word could be or a new phrase could be, I'm in a set shift. I'm shifting my set, shifting my location, my atmosphere because you know sometimes it's you just can't be where you're at. So you have to just shift and go to a whole nother situation. So I would say maybe something like that. You know, I
Okay.
can't say anything, but yeah, I do believe that at the time that a lot of people, when I was in school and always realized that I had people around me that was experiencing those type of things as a teacher, and also when I was a student, I always realized that there was a need and a sense of just support. So I think when you're conscious of that at a young age, I think that also influenced me to kind of be where I'm at because when you're conscious of that, you know, you just always know. So youth that are always around that had always been around me in that type of situation. I grew up in the DC area as well too. It was it was that type of thing you'd hear them talk about. I'm just changing my set. I'm just going to a new location. So I'm a
That's
little,
right.
but that might be
That's a good approach. Jeremy, what about you? Your thoughts? How do we change the word homeless to something a little more positive?
For me, building resiliency, just because, resiliency is going through adverse situations. So I look at it as it's building your resiliency as like a video game, right? You have a bar, it's a resiliency bar, and you're just leveling up. That's how I look at it.
I love it. I love it. Now let's talk about Covenant House. I've worked with Covenant House in different capacities for a long time. Always admired the great work that Covenant House is doing, and most importantly, the leadership, the people who are involved. You couldn't find better friends than those at Covenant House. Talk about how Covenant House is breaking down all of these stereotypes within the community and also to the broader public. Jeremy, we'll start with you.
Sounds good. I'm new to Covenant House, but I've been around for a while. As far as just in the building. But honestly, it's a one-stop shop. For example, I'll give you an example. We had a young lady come in the other day, and her case manager had called me the week before. Then she called and she's like, I have this really young lady that has a lot of these great skills. I want her to come talk to you guys about, getting another job. I didn't know what the situation was. So she pulled in and she told me, she's like, look, I work at a school and the climate is just, it's getting to me. And I really want to hold on. I want better for my life. And I said, you know what? I used to work at a school. I can relate. So started, one thing about being in the career pathways department, you have to be very adaptable, very flexible, right? Because everybody's coming with their own situation. And I said, you know what? I think you would be a good fit for City Year. City Year is a AmeriCorps program, and we used to have it at Kramer. I said, I think you would be a good fit. So she literally got on the computer. We did her resume. Then she got on the computer, and while she was doing the application, City Year called her. And she literally, she was in tears because she's like, they just called me. I said, yeah. I mean, you have great skills. You have a great track record. Why not? And she just couldn't believe it that someone was literally on the back end watching her do the resume like in real time. And she really just couldn't believe it. So that's what Covenant House is. It's a one-stop shop. And it's one of those situations where it's adaptable and they build, I think Tara mentioned it earlier, they're building the curriculum, as I call it, for each representative, as to their catering it to them. Honestly, it's just really a one-stop shop. And like I said, I'm 2 weeks in, but I love the vibe. I love being there. Miss Angela, Kiara, Kevin, everybody's just been really amazing. Mr. Cliff, and I can really see why Tara and Trayvon. I've seen Trayvon. Man, he's been consistent. I see him walking in there all the time, man, doing his thing, going to the studio. So it's just a one-stop shop.
Oh, wait a minute. There's a studio inside of Covenant House.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's a studio. Yeah, if you want to come lay a track, come on.
Wait a minute now. Hold on. Let's go to Trayvon on that. Trayvon, talk about that. Are you in there laying tracks?
Yeah.
We're over here at the Office of Cable Television, Film, Music, and Entertainment. Is there something we need to know?
Yeah, I'm in there singing my heart out, I'm there going crying.
Oh, you can sing.
So I'm working on it, but yeah.
Okay. So now that's great to hear. Talk about, from your perspective, how Covenant House is breaking down those stereotypes and enlighten us on all this good studio work.
Covenant House provides more than just, Covenant House, like he piggyback on him, it's a one-stop shop. It's like coming to a family reunion every day,
Nice.
You have
that's a great feeling. That's a great feeling.
Yes. You need a gym. You got the gym. You want to work out. They provide everything that you would need if you were in your own functional home, and just as if they were and they are family, but they provide an exceptional service. I've never seen no service like this in my life. I've been homeless since I was 12. My homelessness started at 12 years old.
At 12.
Yeah, 12.
Wow.
And
how did you come to Covenant House, by the way?
I was in my car, and I'm not gonna lie, I was searching, I was praying, and just doing the groundwork, and randomly my spirit said, "Go to Mississippi Avenue." I'm like, Mississippi Avenue. I don't know nothing about Mississippi Avenue. I'm not from DC, so I was born and raised in Prince George County. I'm from Capitol Heights, Maryland. My mom, everybody's from the city in DC, but I was familiar with the city. I just didn't know how I could get to the right resources in DC. I was familiar with Maryland side, but DC I didn't know. But me knowing the type of person I am, I always do my research. I always go and give it my all, and I did. And I came across Covenant House, and just it's like they provide everything you need: clothes, if you need a job, they provide housing, they provide food, they provide mental health services. It's like I said, it's like coming to a big factory of just unlimited access to
that is wonderful.
To whatever you want to grow in. If they don't have it, they have the people in place for you that can help you. So it's just like going there every day. I treat it as the family reunion every day, and it really gives me a lot of joy inside, because I'll be 26 in December, and I'm just grateful that I didn't give up on myself, and that Covenant House already had the foundation, and that they were already on that mission, on that mission, and I share that same vision of giving back as well, because I know what it's like. I've been outside in the cold. I know how it feels not to eat for weeks. I know what it's like to wash the same clothes, but making it look cleaner than what it was. I might add a little bow tie here, or I might add some type of something different. But I'm just happy that Covenant House was there, that they believe, and Covenant House changed the narrative so much that I have to, give back. I have to share my story. I have to let people know that it is possible. It is possible.
And that's a big deal, that you are willing to share your story. Many people would not be as open, but you all are. And Tara, I'm going to go to you on how Covenant House, as you see it, is breaking down those stereotypes, both within the community and to the broader public.
So outside of Covenant House, providing a supportive space and for young people, the organization, of course, highlights strength and not limitations, which I think is very important, and focuses on empowerment through education and resources. So by showcasing youth successes such as myself or Trayvon, we really see that they're shifting the public narrative from pity to potential, right?
Oh, I love that.
Helping others see that youth homelessness is a hurdle, and it's not a definitive identity. So that's how I feel like it's definitely breaking down these stereotypes.
Absolutely. You kind of pivoted to what my next question was going to be, and that was around how your experience at Covenant House has helped you see the strengths and the resilience, because God knows you all are so resilient. How you've seen how Covenant House has helped those experiencing youth homelessness. But you just said it, from pity to potential.
Right. So each of us have our own story and dreams. So that was, I would say, how I came in, of course, to Covenant House is not how I left. And I am completely transparent about my character before I came to Covenant House. So
who was Tara prior? Tara 2009.
Tara 2009. Oh my God. I was a spitfire. Everything my mom was trying to protect me from as a teen and I was rebelling against, she was accurate about that. I'm from Fairfax County originally. So I was raised in Fairfax County, but I moved with my father my senior year of high school, but he was incarcerated for my life. I just known him to, financially still take care of me while he was incarcerated, but I didn't know him, but I thought it was a good idea to move with him because it was for more freedom. When he just didn't know how to raise a child. So me making good grades and, I always worked. So I worked while I was in high school. He thought that, oh, well, she's good, so I'll give her freedom to go. She can go.
Right.
And it was a lot of dysfunction in the household that I shouldn't have been around. So essentially I wasn't safe. I didn't feel comfortable. And it's like, you can't, I didn't feel comfortable with bringing that to my father's attention, of course, so because we didn't have a relationship.
Right.
But I was sheltered. So even with being in DC my senior year and having my family be from DC, I hadn't experienced anybody outside of my family. So I had a different impression about people. You know, I was stuck up. I looked down on people. I was the person that assumed that people that were homeless because of their choices and their decisions, and they didn't have love. And if they didn't have love, then they probably were the reason why they didn't have love. Like that was my mentality. And then coming to Covenant House, of course, having the intake, to being transported to the shelter by Mr. Hawkins, it's like a movie. Like each person that I'm meeting, and I'm now taking the time to like listen to people outside of myself. And what, you know, I was at the age where I was always right about everything. So I had created a reality that didn't exist. And now I was living and sitting in what reality was. And it was like unfolding like a storybook. So it molded me. I'm thinking that my story was the worst. Like, oh my God, mind you, I came in there with a North Face trench coat that was like $400. I had a pair of UGG boots on. I had a new pair of Uggs, like, and I was, oh my God, my life is the worst in the world. And then I'm meeting my peers as they're coming in because they got to make curfew. Now,
and what are you hearing from them? What's that like? You're new there.
They're first off, it's cold. So they would sleep outside, or they were sleeping in laundry rooms. They were sleeping on benches. I mean, they were sleeping in abandoned houses. Or my first friend Leah, her house was raided. So she had no family. She lived with her father and her two brothers, and her house was raided. So the life that she had, it was gone, and she had nobody to turn to. And now she was homeless. So it was like, I didn't know what any of those stories was like. And I kind of got shy. Like, I don't really,
you start looking at your own life a little different.
I don't want to tell them how I'm here. And then I seem like, you know, the snobby person. So I did more observing than anything, right? And it immediately fixed me. So I couldn't have any judgment about anybody then, because I'm looking at these people with these stories who I wouldn't have known these stories if they didn't tell me. If I passed them on the streets, I would have never assumed that was their life. And they had lived that type of life for a long time. Homeless, like Trayvon was saying, he's been homeless since 12 years old. Well, what does that look like? That was in a lot of my peers, where, you know, growing up in Fairfax County, the stories were different. So not that there wasn't, you know, dysfunction and trouble and things, but the stories are different. So now I'm hearing these stories where I'm not feeling pity for my peers, but it's like, it's the phrase when they say it's always someone that has a worse story than you. It's always somebody worse than you. I've heard that. People tell me that, but now it's resonating. Because
now it's in front of you. It's real.
Right in front of me. It's right in front of me, so super real. And that actually helped me like lock in more to the Covenant House. And really, I was focused. I wanted to use the resources. I wanted to also be informed, because if I met peers and I lended them an ear and they told me they were going, I mean, to this day, I refer young adults and teens to the Covenant House. My son is a product of the Covenant House. So I met his father while I was there. I knew of him while I was there, and then we met after. But it's if that wasn't the connection and we didn't know each other from there, then I wouldn't have had my son. So that's how it's definitely it's just super transformative, and it's not forceful. So although the time is not forever and it's supposed to be transitional, they're not like pushing you out to the streets.
Right. That's right. That's right. Kevin, I'm going to turn to you at this point. You are interfacing with youth every day. Talk about how your experience at Covenant House has helped you see the strength and resilience in our youth.
Well, we see it here today. I mean, I've heard, and we, like Jeremy said earlier, we see Trayvon moving through the hallway. You know, that's the type of stuff that that we see when we talk about resilience, you know, and then also when you look at our staff and you look at the people that are around us and the team that are around us, you know, we go through days that sometimes are long, they're hard, but you see the resilience in that just by, you know, how hard they work and how hard they're giving their time and efforts to you know, to doing something or getting a project done or making sure someone has something to eat. So, you know, a lot of times that's where I've seen resilience. But one other story of resilience that I can remember, and even today, a young man walked into our office, and he was a product of another project program that we were working at while we were at the Covenant House. So, you know, many people know that I came to the Covenant House because I was working with a partner organization alongside Covenant House. So while we were there and he was going through that program, I had left that organization and now working over with the Covenant House. He came right back in there and basically automatically just picked up right where we were at. This young man had served, you know, about 10 years in jail for something that should have been probably, you know, a sealed case, you know, but at the same time, he felt the need to come back to Covenant House, to recheck back in, to go back in and say, hey, look, you know what? Things got hard, you know, but I'm back, Mr. Walk. I'm back. You know, is there anything I can get? Anything I'm like, sure it is, because there's always something when you're looking for it. We can always find something. You know, we're just God's working hands. So we already know that as long as we try hard and put our hands to it, God will open that opportunity for them to get what they need to get. So it wasn't a thing, you know, so, and that's how we approach the job. And that's the resilience I see when I talk with Miss Angela. That's the resilience I see when I talk with, you know, with Mr. Cliff, and everybody else at the Covenant House, because you know that they've been there a long time helping those kids plug back in and recharge every time. So yeah, that's where I see resilience every day at the Covenant House. So I have no problem. People will tell you I have no problem coming to work. I'm there at the break of dawn because I know exactly what's going on. And you know, we just love what we do, and we're gonna keep doing that to, you know, to God's will and to His glory. So yeah.
I love it. You know, and like you said, you're not even going to work. You are going to fulfill your passion every single day. And that's a beautiful thing. That's a beautiful thing. Jeremy, how about you? Talk about how Covenant House has helped you see the strengths and resilience in our youth.
For me, just seeing, you know, how everyone is willing to be a part of a team and, you know, wrap around services. You know, if someone needs something, I can run around the corner and Miss Jasmine will get it for me. Like, you know, even hearing her story and so forth, and just knowing that, you know, everyone's on the same page. You know, I don't have to like over explain anything. It's like, don't worry, I got you, you know, or even showing me the ropes or kind of explaining how things are run. I just love the vibe. And like Trayvon said, it is like going to a cookout, a family cookout. You know what I mean? Like, you know, at 12 o'clock, there's going to be lunch. It's going to be something good. You know, I run downstairs, make sure the youth eat, grab a little bite for myself, and then, you know, back to the work, you know. But all in all, I think just from the ground up, the resiliency is in the people in the community and how they can adapt to everyone's story and not turn anyone around. You know, it's what do you need? Let's get it for you.
Angela, you've got to feel good about your staff, that they feel like they are coming to the cookouts and the family reunion, and that they aren't even going to work, that they're fulfilling their passion and their God-given mission every single day. That must be heartwarming. Seriously.
Yeah, I mean, it is, and it's I mean, I've been smiling the whole time, and
I've seen it.
I mean, these are people that espouse who we are. I mean, we make a covenant with our young people. Our name is exactly what we do. We make a covenant with our young people that we are going to be here to guide you through this process so that you can thrive. And it is and Kevin is right. I mean, there's some divine intervention in there, that we are there because I think, at least for me, I'm there because I'm called to be there. I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing, and
Right.
I do love it. I do love it.
And what has it been like for you? I know I'm going off script a little bit, but when you come in there every single day, because every day has got to be different.
Absolutely. And I don't know that most people know my story. I'm also a native Washingtonian. And I grew up not too far from where Covenant House, Greater Washington, is located. I grew up in Anacostia. I went to Ketchum Elementary. I went to Kramer Junior High, and then I went to Banneker for high school. So Jeremy, I was a Kramer kid, and for me, I have I'm back in the community that grounded me. It's not
Mm,
about people say I'm giving back. I am back in the space that gave me the life that I have, right? That
right.
supported me. And the thing I think about the work that we do, I had a village that got me to the point. Many of our young people don't have that village. So when Jeremy talks about the cookout, Covenant House, Greater Washington seeks to be the village that many of our young people don't have.
That's
And
right.
and Latoya, come by any day, or anybody that's on the call. We do have lunch every day. Mr. Strickland, our chef, is a fabulous chef, and so he's cooking up something. He had some great stuff that I can't eat all the time, but it's great. It's too many carbs. He had macaroni and cheese and fried chicken. But
Y'all eating good. Y'all listen, y'all got
any
studios. I
any
look,
the music studio, we do a podcast, we have an
love
on-site
it.
food pantry, we have a clothing store, the gym is there, we have the first ever urban hydroponic farm in Southeast DC. So come and see where our microgreens and things are growing inside of a shipping container. So it is incredible,
Wow.
an incredible place to be, and to see our young people thrive. And now that Tara is back and Trayvon is there on a regular, we hear his music through the halls. Trayvon, you don't know that I can hear your music all the way in my office, but I can. But I can. But anyway, I'll stop there because I
No,
can
but
keep
see,
going.
that is good for all 40 plus people on this call today to know exactly what's going on inside of that building. What's taking place in Southeast DC? There's hope. There's resilience, and these experiences, though they may start one way, they end another. And that's so important for everybody to know. And we want everyone who's on this call today, don't just be here. We want you to be a part, to dive in, to be a part of this village that's supporting our youth who are seeking stability, and they might be in the middle of a transition. It does take a village for each and every one of us. And we also want you to spread the word about Covenant House. We want you to spread the word about Covenant House on Mississippi Avenue in the great Ward 8. Let me be clear about that. In the great Ward 8, let the world know all of the great work that Covenant House is doing. I'm going to go to Trayvon at this point to say, what would you want people to understand about the causes and reality of youth homelessness that goes beyond the stereotypes? Because as you mentioned very early on, that you have been homeless since you were 12 years old.
Yes. Just to piggyback on what she said previously, my upbringing, like, it took a village to raise me. So that's what I was used to. Every day I wake up, it'd be something different story, but a different day. So I would say the misconceptions it's really based on really the need. Everybody has needs, everybody has wants. So all I would just say is it's a temporary thing, like I said previously about homelessness. And it's just finding, and like I think Jeremy said, just finding the passion, just trying to get in tune with that person's story, knowing what they need and knowing their strengths and weaknesses, and just really providing that outlet for those in those certain situations. So I wouldn't really, homeless to me, I don't really get like a negative term in my mind. Like, it's not nothing but I know like our society and my peers and the world frowned upon it. It's just that my conception, how I always viewed it, it was just like a pivoting position, So
Right.
and that's really it,
That's a good one, the pivot. The pivot is so important. Tara, talk about the pivot and wanting people to understand the causes and realities of youth homelessness that go beyond the stereotypes. Because as you said, when you walked into the Covenant House, you've got on North Face, you got on Uggs. It looks different than than how people visualize it, quite frankly.
So I kind of compare it to like what mental health is.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like Trayvon was saying earlier. Homelessness is so much broader than just not having a home. Just like mental health, it could be anything, because it could be so many things that you're going through, and it's just labeled as mental health. And that's kind of how homelessness is. It's often rooted. It's not just about bad choices, and that's the impression that I had.
Mm-hmm.
And that was what was tripping me out, because I had to leave because of dysfunction. So I didn't understand how I was homeless. And the label was like really bothering me. But
right.
It's not just about a bad choice. That's where the Covenant House is where I learned, like, it's rooted in family breakdowns, systematic inequalities, economic hardships. It's literally, homelessness is about young people navigating situations beyond our control.
Absolutely.
You're still maturing. You're still maturing as a young adult, right? You're whether a young man or a young woman or whatever you want to identify, that's a lot. So developing with lacking guidance, which the Covenant offers that support when they have the people, the staff guiding you along, you're met with this hardship, and now you have to figure out how to navigate that. So just really recognizing that the factors fosters empathy and a more supportive approach to addressing homelessness is very, very important. And being more of an ear and just figuring out, I feel like with the next generation, Gen Z down, it's really about meeting them where they are. And, not imposing how you believe that they should move or respond. That's what I got. That's the energy I got from the Covenant House staff. Basically, I had the opportunity to make my own choice. I was provided with resources versus the households I came from. It's like, you have to do things this way.
Right.
And if you don't do them exactly this way, you're going to fail, versus letting me know that there are options. And sometimes things are just not done in order at the end of the day.
That is absolutely correct. Kevin, how about you? Again, you're working with this every day. What do you tell people now that you've been at Covenant House about the causes and realities of youth homelessness that goes beyond those stereotypes?
What I tell people is that every day is a blessing, and at a blink of an eye, we all could be in a different situation. And
better know it.
That, right. So whether or not you might have a certain perception, we all know that this is the type of world, as we already seen from everything that's happened, that we could be in one place in life in one moment and in another place in another. So we will always let people know that we basically have to keep pushing, and the stereotypes that we see are not the stereotypes that are really what, like Trayvon said, it's not really what it is. It's a whole deeper sense of what's going on and what's happening around, having support, but not really having anyone there, or having people that are your family members, but not really being able to have them be able to help you like they would need to and cause you to be in a place. So it's not even a thing anymore for, I think, young people that have already been through this type of struggle. I think right now, I think it's more or less educating other people to understand that no matter what, there is worth and value in every part and everywhere of situations in people's lives, whether it's you're young and you're homeless, or whether it's you're older and you're slowing down in life and you're about to turn things around and you end up being homeless. there's still worth and beauty in what it is that you have to offer to the world, and that's what it's all about at the end of the day, you know.
And the key word, temporary. It's temporary. It's
yeah.
temporary. And Jeremy, I'm going to turn to you. 2 weeks in now, how do you believe these stereotypes are impacting the kind of help and support young people are offered? And how can support systems be, in your view, more sensitive to individual needs?
From my perspective, you know, it has to be, I know I keep using the word adaptable, but, you know, that's just really, you know, that's how I see it. Like, you know, your story, your dreams, they matter, right? You're more than the challenges that you face. And, you know, the Covenant House does a really good job of being a community staple. And, you know, to people who just walk in, or like Tara said, she Googled it. So really, it's just that community staple, that that covenant, you know what I mean? That way, that you know, that gleaming hope, you know, that people can really just say, hey, you know what, I can live my dreams. It is possible, right? Because representation matters when you really look at it, right? So that's my take, and I'm gonna stick into it.
I love it. I love it. Tara, I'm going to come back to you. Are there stories of overcoming stereotypes or surprising others with your strengths that you'd like to share with the town hall community this evening?
Well, yeah, so me getting into the mental health industry, I was still a student. So I wasn't necessarily supposed to have my position because I didn't have my degree. And I kept writing the CEO of the agency with my cover letter, with an emphasis of the job needing more relatability than a degree. And in my cover letter, I attested to my story and my experience at the Covenant House, which drove me to the passion to be able to do this community support type work in the mental health industry. So, of course, I work directly under a psychiatrist, and you know, it finally interviewed me. You know, she finally responded back to my email, but you know, that shocked, because I was asking for a job and per my resume, I didn't qualify. And she might have not even looked at my cover letter.
That's right.
So she didn't know my story. So now homelessness looks like what? And I've experienced intermittent homelessness. So my time with the Covenant House was as a single, and then it was again with my son, you know, so a mother and a child. So I feel like that definitely was surprising to her, especially with her not being of our culture. It was like, okay, let's give her a shot. And they did give me a shot, and they gave me a caseload of people who nobody wanted to work with. So they actually didn't have any case managers for them because they had turned over so many case managers. And I had that caseload for 2 years. It wasn't until the end of the second year when my supervisor told me that, you know, I actually did a phenomenal job on the progress of these people. I mean, through rehab, getting out of the bed, taking them back, signing them back into their, like, I stuck by these clients that were deemed problematic, which, you know, showed that what I said in my cover letter two years before, that it takes relatability, was facts. You know, it was the passion that drove me to the industry. So I feel like that was definitely a shocker for her. Like, oh, I didn't know that you came with this backstory. It's like, yeah.
That's very interesting indeed. Angela, I'm going to come to you because I know you've seen a lot. I know that you experienced a lot. I'd like to hear from you as well on that exact point of overcoming stereotypes and the most surprising stories that you've learned from the youth that you are experiencing daily.
I mean, certainly there are lots of stories, but I'll share the story of the young man I met on the first day of my job. So I didn't come to Covenant House. I came to Covenant House with a long career in working in the nonprofit sector, but not necessarily working in the homelessness sector. And my first day on the job was a young man. His name was Daniel, I believe his name was. Daniel had been through our GED and Career Pathways program and had taken the GED several times. It was his birthday, and he had passed the math test that day. And it was a hard day for me that particular day because at the time we were experiencing some financial difficulty as an organization, and I had to make some hard business decisions, which I wasn't happy about. But in order for the organization to, anyway, so it was a hard day for me emotionally, and it was my first day, right? My first day on
Your
the
very first day on the job.
very first day on the job. Um, and Daniel came and shared his story with me, and we bought a birthday cake for Daniel. And because my very first day was hard, and I questioned what was I doing. And Daniel came and shared his story and was so happy about passing his test. And then I said, well, I'm where I'm supposed to be. Right. And that happens. And I don't want people to go, our youth have passion and potential, but sometimes they come to us with trauma that we are human beings, right? This is our job, but we are also human beings. And it is not always easy to not take that home with you if you are a feeling human being, because you're interacting with other human beings, right?
That's right.
You can't not feel Tara's story. You can't not feel
That's right.
Trayvon's excitement when you listen to his music and listen to his story. You cannot, we all come to the job with life of our own. And we interact with the lives of others. And so sometimes that's hard. It is hard work. We have had young people in the 5, almost 6 years that I've been there that have passed away. We went through COVID. We have a young man that I've seen that um, was using drugs and used something that he didn't know what it was and will never be the same. Those
Wow.
stories are really hard.
Of
Um,
course.
the reason why we keep doing this work, because I don't ever want to hear a story like that. I don't ever want to continue to get a call about a young person that is no longer with us, but a detective found them somewhere. So we have an entire generation of young people that we it is our job to see where we can provide some sanctuary for them, to let them know that there are people that do care. And as
That's
Kevin and as Jeremy and as Trayvon and Tara have all said, the passion and the potential, there's good and worth. We are all here and we all have a purpose. It's different for those of us. We all have different purposes. I mean, I could go on and on about this because I am incredibly blessed because I love what I do, right?
Amen.
People who work for Covenant House Greater Watch who love what they do. And I'm just one little person, right, in the space to keep the place moving. But we have a couple of our board members on the call, and we appreciate the support that they do for us. We have probably a couple of our donors on the call, lots of our staff on the call as well. But we make a covenant. We make a covenant with the young people that come through our doors, and that covenant is that we're not going to give up on you, even when you give up on yourself. We will
I
not give up.
love it. I love it. I love it. My girlfriend, my good girlfriend, Marlena, I know you didn't think you was getting off the hook without getting a question, but
Yeah.
but it's very important that, we share the stories that have touched us most. In your time and tenure with Covenant House, is there a story that has touched you in a way that you'd like to share with the group this evening?
Oh, sure, absolutely.
And I'm sure there are many, but
There are many, but the one I remember when I first started was a young man who was walking down the hall, head down. I always speak to the young people. Sometimes I may not know their names, ask how they're doing. And I asked him about his passion. And he went into a story about how everybody said in his life he was stupid and dumb, from his parents to his school teachers, and that he would never be anything. And that's when I took him to Cliff Rogers, who was an amazing teacher at that time, and one of our volunteers, and told them this young man's story. And they worked with that young man. It wasn't easy, but he ended up going to Lackawanna College and getting his degree. I mean, that to me was worth everything for this young man who had no hope. That's the person that has absolutely no hope in life. And taking him from that lack of hope for anything to getting a degree and being able to move on and be self-sufficient is what this is all about. And I think, just like Angela said, we're all there, I think, for a special reason. I know God has me there for a reason, because these young people, they're incredible young people, and they need our help. We're there for them. Like Angela said, we never give up on our young people. Never. We're always there for them. And sometimes they have to come back once or twice, like Tara said, but we're still there for them. And that's my job, to let people know that Covenant House is there for these young people, and we need everybody to lift up our young people and support them.
Amen to that. I do want to run through these myths very quickly, as I know we've got time constraints on our hands. But there are a number of myths that we know are just not true. One being homeless youth are mentally ill. Homeless youth are addicts. Homeless youth are dangerous and violent. Homeless youth are criminals. Homeless youth are lazy. Homeless youth made bad choices that caused them to be homeless. Homeless youth just need to get a job. Homeless youth choose to be homeless. Homeless people spend all their money on drugs and alcohol, and homeless youth don't want services. And we know none of those myths are true. We know that there are facts that mental illness does not define the experience of homelessness. Roughly 1/3 of people facing homelessness may have serious mental health challenges similar to the general population. So it's crucial to understand that mental illness does not cause homelessness. It's one of many factors that young people face. And Tara has talked about that a number of times in our conversation today. Secondly, that we know that substance abuse is not a universal experience among homeless youth, because our studies indicate that 20 to 40% may struggle with addiction, but it's often a response to the hardships of life. We also know that our homeless youth are not dangerous and violent. Young people without stable housing are more likely to experience violence than to engage in it. And when altercations do occur, it's often a matter of self-defense. We also know that survival often leads our homeless youth to engage in activities criminalized by society, such as loitering or trespassing. But for most, these acts are ways to survive. So let's keep that in mind, everyone. Also, nothing could be further from the truth about our homeless youth being lazy. We know that surviving homelessness demands relentless effort and resilience, and that our homeless youth are continuously on the lookout for food, shelter, and resources. So always keep that in mind as well. And the list goes on and on, but we want people to know, everyone to know, and we have got to share that story far and wide. There are a lot of myths and misconceptions about youth and homelessness out there, and we've got to dispel those myths. We've got to tell them accurate stories and let them know that it is not by choice or design that these youth are experiencing homelessness or they're seeking stability. We know that this is just a moment in time on their journey, and we're going to help them get to their next. I'm going to turn to Kelly McKell Williams for a few words this evening as well.
Thank you, Latoya. I appreciate it so much. And great job for you moderating tonight. And certainly I want to give kudos to Tara and Trayvon for their strength, their courage to come on this Zoom, this town hall, and to share their story, because certainly being homeless isn't necessarily something you want to advertise or from the rooftop or jump on the mountains and plaster it on a Goodyear blimp or anything like that. It's something that I struggled with and sharing my story until one day meeting someone who was homeless and was in the same situation I was in church. And I then shared my story for the first time. And now I share it anytime and every time I can, because I realized that, I think it was Kevin who said, it's important to see someone who looks like you, in certain positions. And that goes from being in a career position to being in difficult situations, because sometimes you think, I think Tara said it, she thinks she was the only one. And certainly I thought I was the only one. I was very successful working at the White House and traveling the world, working for most powerful people in the world, and went through a bad situation, ended up homeless, and got custody of my son when he was 3 years old. Didn't have a, as they say, my mother, grandmother would say, a pot to do something in or a window to throw it out of. Um, and I was scared. I didn't know what to do. I didn't know where to go. I blamed myself. I looked at it like, what decisions did I make? What were the circumstances that I did? And I think the reason why I didn't want to say anything was because of the stigmatism and the issue of, well, clearly something's wrong with you. I mean, you worked at the White House, you traveled, you worked for the president, you did this, you did that. And it wasn't until, and all that built up to a point where I even attempted to take my own life because I was so guilty and so um, frustrated and angry with myself, and didn't contemplate the the damage I would be doing by doing that or making that decision for my son and my daughter, because everything seemed to just collapse on top of me. And so through prayer and actually no prayer at all. Let me stop that. There wasn't prayer. It was writing a letter and taking pills and knowing that I had said years ago that I had no right to take my own life because God gave it to me. Not knowing that at that particular moment in time when I wrote that suicide note and said, I'm done, I'm over with, and took those pills to end my own life, that God will wake me up and have me actually walk and check myself into Howard University Hospital to get treatment, because everything around me was collapsing and everything was seemingly the high of working for the most powerful man in the world and the low of figuring that I wasn't worth the clothes that I had on or the streets that I was walking on. Um, to only have God pull me out of that, take me and have me go to Howard University Hospital and have the doctor say to me, "You're just stressed." And I'm like, "There's got to be more than that." He was like, "No, you just have so much built up on you that you're stressed." And that was a part of my mental health treatment that I needed to understand and address, that stress could lead me to making the worst decision of my life. And allowing that stress to cause me to think that I wasn't worth what my parents put in me. I wasn't worth being the father to my children. I wasn't worth being the consultant and the guy who was helping individuals win elections and create legislation and do the things that I was doing that I loved and enjoyed so much doing. And it was from there that it allowed me to move forward and get back on my feet, and going to my church and having my pastor take me in, me and my son take me in, and give us a place to live with him and his family in his home. Give me a job to where I can then find my own apartment. And then lo and behold, meeting Vincent Orange and getting a job with Vincent Orange and being able to work for him for a number of years to allow me to even get back on the feet and buy my own home and get back on track and be able to raise my son and allow him to excel and exceed, and even get my daughter, who's in the military, just got promoted to lieutenant commander in the Navy. My son now is 21, just turned 22, is in London, England for his master's degree in organizational psychology, graduated from NYU. Um, I sit on the board of Covenant House because when I was going through what I was going through, I didn't know about Covenant House. I went to Virginia Williams and asked them, could they help me? And at that time, they didn't support or help single fathers. And I was like, but what am I going to do? Where am I going to go? And getting food stamps wasn't going to help me because I had no refrigerator. I had nothing to put them in. Um, you know, I had no shelter, so I slept in the back of my car. And it was that feeling of guilt I think Tara talked about, was that I had nice things, but I was afraid to even walk out in my clothes or in my suit or in a nice shirt or um, with my watch on or anything like that because I was homeless and I felt just the opposite of what Tara felt. I felt like I should have looked like I was homeless as opposed to looking like I had something um, because I felt that people were going to judge me more so because I still had nice things. And while thought that they would thought I should have sold my car, I was like, but that's the only thing I have. That's my shelter, so I can't sell it because that's where I'm sleeping. So it was so many of those things that I heard Tara talk about it and Trayvon talk about that caused me to go through that emotional and mental roller coaster of trying to identify myself, find myself, understand, who I am and who I was. And yet, while I believed and trusted God, I wasn't believing and trusting Him. And while I kept telling myself that, it was still hard for me to really embrace it and engage it until that one day when I was at church and that young lady stood up and had come to our church and was like, I don't know what I'm going to do, and broke down crying because she was homeless. Whew. Give me a second.
It's all right. It is all right. We appreciate this. It's a powerful discussion, and this is what we want people to hear. It's tough.
I love Covenant House. Covenant House is my joy because as we say, as a grown ass man, sometimes just being able to help someone understand that they're not alone, or recognizing that what you've been through or what you've had to experience is a lesson, not just for you, but it's for someone else. It's for you to be able to help someone else. And so I want to commend Tara. I want to commend Trayvon for having the courage, the tenacity, and the strength to stand before these people and tell them their story, and to do it with such strength and power, because it's because of you two and Kevin and the others, that Cliff, Marlena, and of course Angela, that make Covenant House the powerhouse that it is. And anything and everything that I can do, I try to do, from sharing to helping support to try to raise the funds that we need to whatever it is. Um, it's just something that, being able to look back and see where I was 15 years ago and see where my son is today, where my daughter is today. Um, I can say nothing but God, but I can also just thank God for allowing me to be in the position to help my son, show him that even though you may experience some difficulties in life, if you just keep pushing, if you trust him, if you never doubt, even when you doubt, just keep trying to move forward, it will work. God will find a way to help you. And I'm so proud of my son. That kid, sometimes I want to beat him because he's so he's so independent, smart. He graduated from NYU with a 4.0 and decided that he wanted to go to London for grad school. And so he'd be out there for a year in organizational psychology out there. He went out, did his own scholarship, did his own loans, did it all by himself. Um, and I can be nothing but a proud father, thinking about where we came from. That little 3-year-old homeless little boy is somewhere in London living it up. So thank you, Marlena. I appreciate it. Thank you, Angela. Thank you, Latoya, for your work and dedication, not only to the city, but to the mayor and everything that you've been doing ever since I met you, probably just before I started working for Vincent Orange, back then. Thank you guys for all of that. And certainly I'm here to help support and can't wait for Sleep Out. Cannot wait.
Yay, that was a good point. Thank you so much. And I met Michael and heard his story and asked him to think about being on the board of Covenant House because I said, you can be a voice like no other person I know can be. And so I'm so grateful that you decided to do that and help us. So,
And you can overcome. I mean, it helps. I mean, here we are now. I'm ANC commissioner, just opened up a restaurant, ran for Congress. You can overcome and accomplish what you want to set out to do.
what's your restaurant's name?
It's DC Strand. It's right there on Nellie Helen and Division.
Okay, great. We had to
We
get
just opened up 10 days ago. So come on out.
Angela may have to take us on a treat at lunch one day over there.
Yes, we do. We have to do a board retreat. We have to do a board
Oh,
retreat. Come on over. Come on over, Angela. We got private rooms and a cigar lounge.
oh gosh, the cigar lounge. Oh, okay.
Exactly. You know me, I gotta have my cigar.
I know. I know. So he had the cigars on the Joe Claire cruise. So everybody.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed.
So I want to thank everybody. Thank Director Latoya Foster for taking time this evening to be with us as a moderator. We love you so much. Tara and Trayvon, oh my gosh. Love you. Love you so much. Kelly Michael, well, you know you're our heart. Jeremy, Kevin, my team, Kiara and Emma, I know I drove you crazy the last couple of weeks about this, but such a stellar job. Our Covenant House Greater Washington colleagues, our Covenant House International family, all of our guests, we love you. Thank you so much for spending this time for us and joining us this evening. We're so grateful that you chose to spend this time with us. Don't forget, Sleep Out Executive Edition, November the 21st. We hope to see everybody there. Thank you for being on the Youth Homeless Awareness Month Town Hall and have a great evening. Thank you so much.